Welcome to the LinkedIn Power Lab webinar. Today is episode number 49. I started this series in 2020, and for the last year or so, I do this together with an expert in the field. And today I'm very happy that I have Veronica Llorca-Smith from Hong Kong, known to me as the Lemon Tree Mindset, and she will introduce herself. And the topic for today will be from LinkedIn content to Substack Flywheel, two totally different type of platforms that we can combine together. So that is the session for today. You can see the link over there. And I would say let's start it. I hope everyone can hear me well. Utilize the chat wherever you can, and can get it afterwards as well. So the main thing is that the recording is going well because we have many people also coming from the US and other areas where they cannot just go to it yet. So for those who don't know me yet, my name is Gunnar. It's a Swedish name. I'm Swiss and Australian in the meantime as well. And I work quite a bit in the area of social media and marketing. I used to work at Hootsuite. I'm now at ActiveCampaign, and I know very well the essence of building an email list because that is a very important topic where LinkedIn doesn't really help us well to it. I published one LinkedIn book called Connect and Act in May 2023, and a version particularly for job seekers followed a year later. So that's what I'm doing. I'm also on Substack. I used to call my Substack writing in cafes. You see the link over there, but it's now the name is changed towards Busy Book Builder because that's what I'm doing. And I would like to hand over to Veronica.
Great. Great to see everyone today. I'm Veronica, and I used to be a corporate girl. I was actually in the corporate world for many years, for almost 20 years. And then the pandemic happened. I ended up locked abroad. I started over in Australia, couldn't find a job there. And that's when I started to reinvent myself. Everything that I've built, and I have a coaching business, public speaking business, I've published multiple books. Started actually with this book. I don't know if you can see it very well. It's called The Lemon Tree Mindset. And the whole philosophy is that when life gives you lemons, you should use the seeds to plant your own lemon tree. So today, that's what I do. I left behind the corporate world, and I have a big community on Substack. To give you a little bit of context, I have 13,000 subscribers, but for me, it really is a community. I have it in English as well as Spanish, and that's going to be the focus of today, how to really build your own community.
Wonderful. And you see at the links, and you will get the slides afterwards as well, that she even has her own online course shop there. Very good. And the links for LinkedIn are there as well. So let me quickly guide you through what we prepared for today. My webinars only have typically have one big topic, and I divide it into three subtopics. So the first of all is that most of us kind of know very well is LinkedIn. I take it less from the corporate space, but more how you can write content to spark curiosity. And then we go over to Veronica talking about Substack, how to turn the curiosity into a community. And she does it so well. And then I talk about how to bring it all together. So that's the purpose. That's this type of flywheel, which looks for me like an infinity loop. So important thing, please stay muted and use the chat for questions and comments. We also have questions that we ask where we can put some comments on there because that is what the community is so lively on, that we engage together. You will also receive the slide and recording by email within 12 hours from starting now, maybe even a bit earlier, and then watch out for something special at the end. So that's how it would go. So then let's go. LinkedIn, how to write content to spark curiosity. So you saw that I published books about LinkedIn. So for me, I'm quite active on it. But the key question is about you. So let me put it into the chat, a question to everyone. So how often do you share a post on LinkedIn? For me, 4 to 5 times per week. Sal, haven't done for a while, 4 to 5. Francesco, 2 to 3 times a week. I want me to engage with it again. My friend, yeah. Veronica is also active nearly every day. Oksana also, yeah, you're a super networker as well, right? Oksana, episode number 50, 52, let's see. So, yeah, thank you. Not everyone is actually on it. Yeah, Wayne, I know, not yet. too much. Thank you for all those coming in. The key question is, of course, when we want to share something, we should hit our target audience. We don't do it just because we have something to say. So, and there are different types of people who all of us in this group who registered represent. Let me go through this. But thank you. Thank you for this. There's a big mix between rarely up to even nearly daily. So a bit of stats. So if we want to reach people to advance our business agenda, let me take this as the main thing. We want to advance our business agenda, whatever that means, can be different for each and everyone. But you can see just by numbers how many people are on social. A lot. More than 1 billion on LinkedIn already. Nice. 4.6 billion people using emails, and they have 5.6 billion accounts, so by average more than one. A third of that is on Gmail. The majority open emails on mobile phone. So when we get newsletter by email that includes Substack, what we write there, then most open it on mobile. So everything needs to be very mobile responsive. I don't have the exact number on Substack in the sense of how many members, but you can see how many visitors that came from end of last year. 48 million visitors, 20 million subscribers, 5 million paid subscriptions. Not everyone subscribes. Sometimes you just follow, like also on LinkedIn, you can follow someone instead of subscribing. And something good for my own job, an email open rate should be 30 up to 40%. And the good thing, a proper email tool and also Substack gives us these statistics. The purpose of email is not just to see stats, but we would like to share what we would like to, what we want to tell our audience, and we want to build a community of this, not only to blast content. But when we combine all of this together, all of these stats into that, what we are doing, then we need to find out who we actually are. Let me show. I see on LinkedIn 3 types of content creators. And let me call the word content creators, could be just also professionals. We have corporate employees. Many of them, they only forward what the company gives them. That's a corporate billboard approach. They're rather fearful about what the market would say if they write something. Think about professions like law or accountants, because whatever they say might be perceived as an acknowledgement of the statistics or whatever. And then we have also unsure about the social media policy. So then these people don't share too much there, but often have a lot to say as a person, not related to the corporate role, and are looking for a place to share thoughts, to share and combine with other people. Subject would be good for that. The second one would be then small business owners. They can use their content as a door opener. They might have good understanding on how social media works. They know what matters to the audience. They can use content towards conversion, and I talk about that. Just how can they be really consistent? It's tricky because they believe the main thing is their normal job. To realize half of what they're doing is sales and marketing. And then we have the third one, the solopreneur, those who are sitting somewhere there at the beach. It feels like the total freedom, no constraint, whatever they can write about. But very often also they don't put it like a full Habitz, that's my name, or put it in their DNA. And they don't often promote themselves well enough, but they can build a beautiful community around what they're concerned. So there are different type of roles. And if I look into all of those people who joined so far, we have many of these as well. The picture on the right-hand side is quite nice. So Veronica, I think in the time whenever you visited here also in Australia, we can see, and I know it from Sal, who's writing at places like this all over the country. So it can be quite nice way to create content. I know that. So what does not work? That's this one. There are people who are scrolling. LinkedIn, taking LinkedIn like Instagram, just scroll. Then they like what's irrelevant, and then they complain that the wrong content comes more and more in their feed. But it's our own behavior. So we need to ensure that we do this right. Just scrolling, reading without action doesn't really work. So we know that. The other thing is to be totally stubborn about this. I'm a Taurus, so I know what the word means. But many people remain passive. They ignore the signals. They say, yeah, There's a lot of LinkedIn, but I don't get customers from there. Well, there are people who even say that they're keen to learn more about this or that. These stubborn people, they also avoid finding other professionals. And the main thing they don't do well is following up. And I told myself for this year, after having written a book called Happy Habits, the word habit means something to me, that following up is one of the biggest things where consistency towards a habit is required. So the next one, silence. Ignoring the power of content is not a good idea. There's so many who don't really post regularly. Maybe it is that they stand in front of a mountain, believe access is paradise, but they don't have any ladder or any staircase to get up there. So once you hit that, then it becomes just normal. Many of them also avoid engaging with others, which is unfortunately sad, because the whole thing only works when we turn conversations into a direct message. So therefore, when I often use the term social selling, there's a part marketing to it because you share your content with everyone, to the world, so to say. But the real sales part to it comes then in DMs. So in a black and white approach, marketing talks to an audience and sales talks to an individual. And that is exactly where platforms like LinkedIn and even more Substack can help a lot to that. So let's get further. So let me show you this pyramid. And I think, Veronica, you might know this in whatever shape or form. The left-hand side, the buyer's pyramid, which says that 3% are ready to buy now, comes from a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine. It's from 2012. It's a while ago, but still enough valid. The late Chet Holmes wrote this, and it's very profound. 3% are in the market to buy now. But how come that a lot of content is attracting only the 3%, ignoring that there are 97 others? The last 30 you don't get. But let's say 2/3 of the market, the 30, 30, and 7, 67, these we could attract if we only get them closer to us, into our ecosystem, getting into a nurturing. That's when you set us up for. Somebody is not ready yet, but there will be. It's a question of time sometimes. It needs a trigger, it needs something. But if we only post something like buy now, then those people, the 67, which might want it later, they are totally off. The other pyramid you can see there, the marketing funnel, has 3 elements: tofu, which is not only cheese, mifu, and bofu. So the top of the funnel, middle, and also the bottom. On the top of the funnel, we have all of these visible, adding people to it by the number. I'm never a big fan of treating them like a number. Of course, we can say we have so many connections and so on, but still, we need to have whatever we are doing visible to people. Particularly here, we mean new people, not existing clients. And one way to do this is content on social media. If you go further down, middle of the funnel would be then this, what other people call sales process or buying journey. And then down would be when we deliver a service towards customers. So I place it in the order of there's the content. We can get it further into a nurturing approach like newsletter, community on Substack. And then comes what we want to give them the more towards our ideal service. Think about a financial planner who is selling a retainer of whatever, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 to a company, need to get into this journey as well. A book would help to showcase expertise, like in Veronica's case, or I also wrote some, or then a course or even membership program. And the more down trust is increased and the likelihood to buy something is there. If we play this well on LinkedIn, I guarantee we can also advance business conversations. I don't want to say resell, but that is the purpose of that. So pyramids are built out of bricks, as we know from ancient Egypt. So if I take these 2 pyramids and place it into bricks, that's a part of my LinkedIn book. I put it into 4 areas. We complete our profile. And for those who haven't done too much on it, you can see it's a brick that goes really towards the top. It's very much a vertical type of thing. You need to make it happen. Once you've done it, then you add horizontal elements. You regularly connect with people. Like I invited so many of you with a personalized message today. Then you add content to it. And then the green one, you convert the content and the messaging or conversation towards this. And then you put another green, a yellow, and pardon, another blue, yellow, and green, another blue, yellow, and green. And every now and then, after a year or so, you do another red and you review if your profile still tells the story of who you are. So that's how I describe it in my book. And I think it makes sense to get further into this. If you have any question in the meantime, please feel free to place something in the chat. So one day, 4 years ago, I received an email from someone who deliberately said, I unsubscribe you. And that's Justin Welch, who now has how many? 660,000 followers on LinkedIn, whatever. Back then wasn't. And he back then created 2 courses and decided, okay, I unsubscribe everyone. I don't want to spam people anymore. But I built something regular. And he was one of those who started the renaissance of newsletters. He sends for 230 weeks, every single Saturday at the same time, a smaller essay, 4 or 5 minutes to read all the time. I like this regularity on it. And this week I'm posting on LinkedIn using the hashtag Social Selling Monday for the 373rd week in a row without missing any time. So I love this. Habitz is in my name. But Justin is awesome at this. What he helped building is the awareness of regular emails, building an email list. When you do it well, not when you send, that is my company's general newsletter, when nobody cares about that company as such. Talk something valuable for the audience. And he mastered that. And he's also on Substack now, so that's a good thing. So the tricky thing on LinkedIn is what we need to do is we need to create content that makes sense for our audience to react. I see so many people, and I didn't want to share bad examples here, but I saw so many who write something on LinkedIn and I wonder that it doesn't work because either it is just reposted corporate stuff, which is written by marketers for marketers, but not for the regular clients or prospects, or it is something that doesn't visually appeal and so on. So what I try to do is to create content that doesn't scream like corporate, but entices people to do something, asking with a question, leaving with a call to action or call to thought. Ideally showing real life people, typically on Fridays, for example. This is the typical Friday post in my 42 Coffee series, where Veronica, you and I had one in May as well. That was good when you came to Sydney. These type of posts help with showing the human side. And here I had to showcase another service professional from my area who has a marketing agency, but moreover is a local printer. And he helped me finally to print my beautiful business cards. I met him at an event. Okay, I can tell all good stories about him, but then you can see whoever is following the reach of LinkedIn. I don't have that many people, but 1,800 impressions these days is actually quite good. And that was only last year in maybe September. So after all the algorithm changes. But moreover, you can see comments, and there were so many of them. So number one, we need to write content so that it entices people to leave comments. Number two, when we get them, then we also need to respond. You can see I've done that. So for example, here, Valerie wrote, she co-delivered this webinar last year in June, forgot the number. And then I also added something to it. Bridget wrote, and also I added something. Wendy wrote something. I met her afterwards from it. And again, Valerie. So it's interesting how this can turn into conversation. And by guarantee, if you do it well, occasionally something comes. Something like, can you tell me more about this particular? I'm very interested. Or I just signed up. Can you get me a helping hand? Something where a person in public shares what a sales manager would say, hey, that's a lead, or marketer would say this. It really happens. And even if not, commenting gets people to share something out of their view. And then I can go there and then say, hey, Vishal, you know what? Actually, I run a partnership event for your marketing agency as well. You should come. And he did. That was beautiful. So we can write content that it brings people to comment, and then if we hang off and do nothing, then all chances are gone. So that is the tricky thing. Therefore, I don't even schedule my content anymore. Used to work at Hootsuite where that would be normal, but rather I would do it live, be in the moment, and ensure that when the post hits the right timing, that also I can respond in real time. And then do something with it. There are leads in comments, and then it can work. So that is my way. We can create captivating content if you write about interesting things, human, if it doesn't sound like AI, and from an Australian point of view, if it's not full of M dashes and emojis, because that looks like it's more AI written. So here it's not. So that's my way. We can utilize LinkedIn if the profile looks well, if we find a way how to connect with the right level of people, if we add a good hook to it, and then we write content that helps. That's my way. Happy to hear from anyone else in the chat how they do, but I would like to hand over to the second topic what we have, because we talked about LinkedIn, and in general, we want to advance our agenda. So now the question is how to turn curiosity into a community. And actually, before I hand over, Veronica, we also have a question to the audience. Let me grab that one as well. And that is this one here. Not everyone is on Substack yet, but those who are, please, question in the chat. When did you start your personal journey on Substack? I started end of 23 without knowing what to do.
I'm actually about to celebrate my 3 years on Substack. So that's a little bit about my journey going into the anniversary. And if you're not on Substack yet, you can also share what your interest there or why you would like to start it so that we can really hear from everyone. Yes, 13,000. Thank you, Paul. Great to see you. Haven't used
And
it yet. So we have a bit of a mix. Not using, okay. Kizan, hello. I see some of my members actually from my community, which is very timely for the topic of today. Tinji, a former colleague from Apple, great to see you. Just getting started, just getting started. Okay, so I see that a lot of people are new into the journey. Just keen to hear what Substack is all about. Yes,
yeah,
it's starting to
Tanya, happy
become
to
more
share.
popular. When I started 3 years ago, no one knew what Substack was, and now I'm actually getting questions about it. Okay, so Christy hasn't used it. Okay, so that gives us a little bit of an idea on where everyone is at. And we're just gonna get going. So the first thing before I actually go into Substack, so if you're interested in Substack, the key thing is that you want to build your community, right? I think the keyword here is community. But before you just go into it, I really want you to think of why do you want to grow your community? Because it can't be because I'm telling you or because you're coming to this webinar, you heard it's a cool platform. It really has to solve for a pain point. And the thing is today, I know some of the names here. We have a vet, we have someone from charities, we have a woman who is supporting women over 50. So we all come from these different backgrounds. And it's really important to think of when you look at your business or your creative project or whatever it is that you're working on, what is a pain point or something that could be better? And so to add on what Gunnar was saying about LinkedIn, I'm super active on LinkedIn. I post there, as you saw, pretty much every day. I've also been there for over 3 years, have built following of around 10,000 people. But there was a pain point. And the pain point, a few things. First is that sometimes I post something and it has thousands of views and impressions, but some other times I post something and it has under 100. And so I never really know what my distribution is going to be. I'm not in control. As much as we want to call that a community, when I want to send a dedicated message, let's say that I want to, so this is my book that I promoted, that I published this year. Let's say that I want to send an email to all my community and let them know, hey, I'm going to do this event. I would love to invite you. It's not up to me to decide. It's up to an algorithm that is changing all the freaking time. And so that makes it really, really hard for you to grow this community. And so that's my pain point. I wanted to go deeper. It's not about numbers, it's about going deeper. It's about being able to do a webinar like today and recognizing people and making sure that the people that I want to talk to are able to get that message without gatekeepers, without intermediaries, without all the platforms that are controlling. So think about for a moment of where your pain point is and what is the value that having a community could add to your business or your creative project. I think that's the key thing for each of us to reflect on. And so why Substack? And I'm not paid to talk about Substack. It could be any other platform. But what I do love about Substack is that it's combined this hybrid model that I honestly haven't seen. And I've been doing this full time for 3 years, where yes, you have a newsletter, like what you see here on the left is one of my newsletters that you might receive on the phone or on your computer. And so that's an email, just like you would receive from any newsletter. But it also has a social media embedded, which is what you see on the right. And that's the beauty of it, because unlike traditional newsletters where you really have to go out there as a hunter and get people to subscribe to your newsletter and give you their email, the email so that you can connect with them, you can actually get people to subscribe directly through this platform. And this is super powerful. In my case, for example, I don't really promote my Substack much outside of Substack. And I think the 95% of my current 13,000 subscribers come from within. So that organic power without paid media, without having to go out there, without having to reach out to people, please subscribe, is something that works really, really well. So think about this social newsletter, why it's so powerful, and it's free. It's one of the only newsletters that allows you to send emails and emails and emails, and it's free. Yes, they do take a 10% commission when you start to monetize it, but this is incremental revenue. So I'm really happy for them to take a 10% of whatever it is that I'm making additionally. So that's why I'm a big believer of Substack, and that's why I launched not only in English, but also in Spanish. So Gunnar, we can move on to the next one, and feel free to ask questions as I go as well. So what is the goal here? And I used to think about newsletters, and then I moved away from that concept and I started to think much more about community and experience. What you see here is actually the homepage of my newsletter. It looks nothing like a newsletter, right? It looks much more like a publication or a digital magazine, and it's done on purpose. The way that I explain it, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, is a little bit like a digital home. I don't want people just to click on an email, oh, that was interesting, and then move on. The idea is that you create this immersive experience. If you're talking to women over 50, for example, you want them to come here and then they read an article that is interesting, and maybe that leads them to a video where you have a webinar, for example, or you're interviewing someone who reinvented themselves. And so it's this whole idea of having different touch points so that you're really taking people throughout your home. That's really when you go from transactional to much more transformational. A few things for you to think about, and I know that we have different levels or we are different stages of our journey, but some of the best practices is when you're thinking on how you're going to design your publication, that's what we call it on Substack, is instead of thinking, oh, I want to make it pretty, think that's important too, but the first thing is make it useful. Really put yourself in the shoes of the customer, which is what we call design thinking, and think, how can these be easy? How can I have less friction, less clicks, so that someone who arrives here for the first time, just let's go through it. You have a look and it's like, okay, so this woman, she talks about mindset and strategy for writers and creators. She likes lemons, obviously. There's something with the lemons. I have a big story there, the story of how my Substack was born, so that it brings people to my origin story, why I launched this, who is Veronica, what is the lemon tree mindset about? And then it's quite small, but if you look at the top there, you see different sections. Start here, or if you are an author, for example, author's VIP corner, or if you're interested in digital strategies. So you really start to be much more strategic about your content. And rather than just sending a post here and a newsletter there, you're trying to make sure that it's cohesive and that you have a bit of an ecosystem. So what you can start doing after this session is really thinking on what is your business and what are the different elements, for example. Perhaps you have a part that is educating pet owners, because we actually have a vet in today's session. Hi, Jane. So maybe one part is about education, another part is about videos, another part is about testimonials. So this is going to look different for everyone, but I really want you to think on this journey and this ecosystem so that it's really an experience and not just a one-way newsletter. That is what we usually get. What we want to avoid is just dumping everything, because it's not about volume. It's really about making sure that we are creating this journey. So being a bit more strategic, organizing the different type of content. In my case, for example, I'm a public speaker as well. So I have a section dedicated to public speaking, or if someone is starting, for example, I have a start here session so that someone doesn't get completely lost and they know how to navigate. Another don't is neglecting the branding. I said before it has to be useful, but it kind of has to be pretty as well, because otherwise it's just gonna get lost there. So important to think about things like your branding and making sure that it's not just about numbers, but you're really trying to go deeper with the reader. So that is not just a one-off and I move on, but you're really trying to have this immersive experience. So let's take a look now at how you can set up your publication. And this exercise, you can do it very quickly now. If you dare, you can actually put it in the chat. So I'm going to test you with how clear your vision is. The first thing, the most important thing is your vision, right? Your why. Who are you trying to talk to and why? So I use a very simple formula, and I'm going to invite you to put it in the chat. So I help X achieve Y with Z. For example, I help writers and creators, in my case, achieve financial freedom or turn their hobby into their lifestyle. I love saying that, with webinars, live sessions, courses, and so on. So try to think about this, because this framework is going to help you be very clear on who is your ideal reader or client, what is the value that you're going to deliver to them, and how you do it. So that really helps you making sure that you are attracting the right people, and it makes sure that you have a strong elevator pitch, so that it's very easy from other people to remember and say, yes, Veronica, she actually helps writers and creators turn their creativity into their lifestyle. Doesn't have to be super long, doesn't have to be super complicated. So I know Tingy, my previous colleague, so I see this here. I help mothers navigate motherhood with agency, and I missed the last word there, but it's very, very clear.
Confidence.
She's not talking and confidence. Beautiful. So she's not helping everyone. She's very clear on who she is targeting. And that's really going to help you make sure that you attract the right crew. I also saw that Paul had written something, but we can go back to this later. Try to do this exercise and refine it as you go. I always keep refining. It is always work in progress. It's never perfect, but at least we know that we're starting to fine tune. I talked a little bit about branding, and without going into too much detail, what you really want to achieve is create a brand that is recognizable. In my case, for example, because I created like this whole metaphor with lemons, I really play on it. I play with the colors. It's very playful. It's colors that really, they reflect my personality. A lot of energy. I'm a triathlete. So I want this to show in my publication. But perhaps you're talking about a topic that is much more let's say like a stronger topic like cybersecurity. You might not want to go for pink. You might want to go for deep blue, for example. So you can research a little bit on psychology of colors. I did, and it's quite amazing how much color tells about the human psychology, emotions, and so on. And be consistent. Today I'm talking about lemons. I'm not going to switch to watermelons tomorrow. You know, it's always going to be that consistent image, because at the end of the day, you want to be memorable. You want, I worked at Apple for 7 years. Tinj is one of my colleagues who worked there as well. And what I love about the stores is that it doesn't even say Apple, right? You just see the little logo. They all look the same. Tokyo, New York, Hong Kong, you know that you're in an Apple store. So that's really the goal with branding. And moving on into content strategy, a few tips that you can take from today if you're going to start your journey, or if you're already on Substack. Creating a hero post. A hero post is exactly what you see here, the crazy story of how my Substack, the Lemon Tree Mindset, was born. I published this, it's very small, but I published this 2 years ago, 2024, in January. This really helps for someone who has no idea what the Lemon Tree Mindset is about, to know about my story, about my vision, why I do what I do, what I offer when you come into my community. So this really helps to anchor all your work. And so whatever it is that you're doing, sharing this story, it works a little bit like uh, a navigation tool for the reader so that they know exactly what they're going to find. So take some time. I always review as well my hero post. Then, as I said before, define your content pillars and your sections. Otherwise, it really becomes like a long blog and it's very difficult to find the things that you're looking for. So if you are in a topic, let's say of marketing, you might want to start dividing it into perhaps this digital marketing. Another session might be SEO, but start to think on what are your key pillars. And ideally, you don't want to have 10, perhaps you have 3 or 4 that really helps organize. Back to the analogy with the home, you have the lobby, you have the bathroom, you have the kitchen. The idea is that people who went to the kitchen don't end up in the bathroom, right? And so it's a way of organizing the content. And then very important as well, and this is very, very personal, so I don't want to put pressure on anyone, is establishing a publication schedule and a content calendar and strategy that works for you. Many people ask me, what is the ideal cadence for sending a newsletter? Some people do it daily. In the example that Gunnar shared from Justin Welsh, he does it once a week. I do think that once a week, at least, is a good cadence because everything that you want to build some momentum is usually something that you do once a week. Personally, I do 2 a week. If I have something else like this webinar, for example, I might be sending an extra that is not really a newsletter, but is more something to promote or email marketing. So find a cadence that is comfortable for you and that you can commit to without feeling that you're going to burn out. So it's not about more, it's really about doing something that is sustainable for you. And at the same time, it's going to add value to your community. For those of you who are on Substack, feel free to put in the chat how often you are already publishing, or if you have another newsletter, that might be the case, but not on Substack. And Gunnar, if we can move on while people reply. If you don't put it, I'm going to call the people that I know are on Substack, like Sal, Desiree, a few of you there. Okay, great. Some people are just reading. So what's your biggest driver, growth driver on Substack for those of you who are there? If you are already on Substack, what is the things or the tools that are helping you grow? Notes, notes, notes. That's what I was expecting. Okay, so if we can move on, because I know that many people are not on Substack yet. So I was thinking that people were going to say that. Notes is just the local language of Substack, is the same as LinkedIn post. On Substack, we call it notes. And when we're saying post, we're actually referring to an email or a newsletter. So as I was saying before, what I think is pretty amazing about Substack is that you can grow from within without having to go outside. And so these are examples of short notes that I've been posting recently. I started doing these 3 years ago. And it's, as Gunnar was saying, it's great because it allows you to really connect with your audience. And I'm going to share a little bit on how you do this. But first, I'd like to talk about the challenges that I face and that I think a lot of people face, also to manage the expectations when you get started. So first, it's hard to stand out and it's hard to be seen, and it's very normal to feel invisible. I felt invisible for a long time, and I talked to the wall, as I say, for a very long time before you started to have a bit of traction and momentum and connection. So consistency really goes a long way. Many notes, even today with quite a few subscribers, I have many notes that flop, so it's not a given. But obviously, the more you show up, the more chances you have of really having notes that engage. And it does require time. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, but I do post every day because that really helps me be out there with the community, creating connections. It's not only about posting, but also engaging, exactly the same as on LinkedIn. So before I go into the do's and the don'ts, I just want to share a few examples, and I picked them strategically because they're quite different. And I do think that this is actually relevant for all platforms, not just Substack. There are two types of notes really that are going to help you grow in an organic way. One is the more personal one that creates connection and that really it shows that we are human. And the other one is the one that helps you build credibility. So think about your business, think about your personal lifestyle and how you're able to bring both elements to life. As you see here, sports is a big part of what I do, of who I am. I do triathlon, and last weekend I did a half marathon, which is what you see here. So that is showing people a little bit of who I am as a person. But if you only play on the personal side, then you just stay on the friend zone because people don't know why they should buy from you or what else you're going to offer. And so you have to keep a balance between the personal side, but also the credibility side. So the two C's, connection, credibility. And you have so many ways of building credibility. So here are just a few. When you share what you do in action, it could be a testimonial, it could be an action shot like what you see here with my client Michael. This really helps people see, oh, actually Veronica is not just saying that she's a coach, she is actually a coach, and this is a real person, Michael, with a real name. We're working on a book together, real. So this is a way that you can create that credibility. You can also celebrate if you launch something, if you're organizing a webinar. In this case, I got an award. So these are things that help you build that credibility. And the last is sharing about your journey. So today I've been talking a lot about storytelling. I started 3 years ago. I explained a little bit why I started. That story really helps people connect. No one remembers stats. I'm sure that's sorry, Gunnar, but no one remembers the stats that you shared before. But they probably will remember the stories that we are sharing because that's how humans relate. That's how we are really able to connect. And so stories are very important. So those I pretty much covered. Be consistent. It doesn't have to be a lot of work, once or twice a day. So that's first. Be human with all the amount of AI crap that is out there. Being human goes a long way, seriously. Engaging with others, very important. No one likes to be ghosted. And so I spend more time probably engaging and not just, hey, thank you for your comment. Actually, hey, thank you. How can I help you? I might ask a question back, which is a great way to engage. And another thing that works extremely well, you can use this for LinkedIn as well, is using these notes as a digital lab. Meaning, if I post something in short format, and I see that it does well, it gets traction, comments, people share it. Then what I very often do, I turn that into a newsletter because I already have a bit of business proof. I know that there's interest. I know that people are interested in knowing more. And so that's often for me a teaser to make sure that there is actually interest in that topic. And things to avoid, very similar to LinkedIn, and it's a bit of common sense. Don't overly self-promote, and if you start to put in links and things like this, it usually doesn't work. No one likes the whole sales pitch. Post and ghost, it doesn't really work if you're just sharing your stuff and then you're not connecting with people who take the very valuable time to drop a message. So that's very important. Sound like AI, obviously. It's becoming very, very obvious these days. So that's a bit about notes and how you can actually grow organically without paying a single dollar. Now, the second driver, and this is a little bit more advanced, is, and I'm a super fan of these, and this is exactly what we're doing today, is collaborations. I've collaborated with many, many people on this call actually, and these collaborations really help you grow for so many reasons. You reach new networks, you reach other communities, you might be on other platforms. If you start to do video, your discoverability increases exponentially because when people Google your name, you show up with your videos, which helps then build credibility. So lots and lots of benefits of collaborating in whatever shape or form suits you. There are some challenges, of course, finding collaborators, finding the right collaborators. Gunnar and I know each other for, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 years. We actually met in Sydney. We started connecting already a long time ago. And then when we saw we're actually a good fit, we're aligned, we have a similar style, then we decided to do different collaborations. This is not the first time that we do a collaboration like that, but it's hard to find the right people. You need that relationship first. And it's hard to pitch, especially when you're starting. You have a very small community. And so what is your edge? What is your added value? So these are some of the challenges that we have to overcome in the digital world consistently. So what works, and here I have a few examples, and I don't want to overwhelm you, but I do want to show you what's possible when you build your community. Many people think that Substack is only about a newsletter, but it's really as big and deep as you want it to be. It can be live sessions, which is what you see here on the left, and they are hosted directly from within the platform. I do these quite frequently with some of my premium members. And what's great, you also have the chat, for example, which I will talk about later. And very often you're able to collaborate with other creators to open new doors, to open new communities, which is what you see in the bottom. So when you're starting on Substack, first just get familiar with the platform, start designing your publication and so on, but also start to proactively reach out to people that you think are interesting, have a common theme, they're perhaps targeting a similar type of audience, and that's really how you start to create these collaborations. So what works when you're thinking about collaborating on Substack and honestly in general is having an abundance mindset, not just about what's in it for me, but how can both people, both collaborators benefit from it? And with Gunnar today, honestly, it was really, I put 100%, he puts 100%, and we get 200% because we're really trying to see how we can support the other person. So I think that's critical. Hosting first. So if you are already on Substack, and I hear very often people tell me, oh, but no one invites me, or I'm trying to pitch to have a collaboration with someone, and I'm being ghosted. Be a host first. Invite someone. Say, hey, I would like to invite you to write a
Mhm.
newsletter for my community, which is something that we can do. Or I would like to invite you to have a live session together. So when you are a host first, chances are that you will get invited next time. And another thing that works extremely well is to try different formats, different channels, experiment. Some things will work, some things won't work. Personally, I only started doing live sessions last year, and I was a bit mortified. I'm an introvert, so it's not something that comes very naturally to me, especially when you're talking to a camera and there's no one, no images, no faces there. But it turned out to be a really great experience. I ended up building more confidence. I ended up having a few people who join my community because they see the live session, they like the message that I'm sharing, and they decide to join the Lemon Tree Mindset. So remove all these limiting beliefs that we all have and put yourself out there and try new things. Podcasts, webinars like we're doing today. So many options to collaborate with others. And again, a few don'ts. So don't promote only yourself. That doesn't work, and chances are you won't be invited again. And blindly pitching to people without a plan. So when Gunnar came to me, it was amazing. He said, "Hey, Veronica, I want to do this LinkedIn Substack Flywheel. I think it would be a really good synergy. We can target our joint audiences." So there was a lot of thought into how he had approached this collaboration, which I really appreciated. So if you put thought and strategy and care into it, chances are you will be successful. And a few other things not to or to be aware of is not to expect the other person to do all the work. Sometimes I've been in collaborations where the other person didn't promote it, didn't share with their community, didn't really go the extra mile. And it's really important if we want collaborations to be successful to make sure that both people are 100% in. So for those of you who are already on Substack, feel free to put in the chat what type of collaborations you have already had so that we can really see where people are. I know that in my case, Gunnar, Sal, Desiree, they have all written guest posts, meaning they wrote an entire article and I shared it on their behalf to my community. So that's a very low risk way of starting the collaboration. Any questions so far? Do we have time?
We have time.
Oh, we can keep going, and if we have questions, I'll just address them as we go so that I can cover the content. Okay, Paul says that he has Substack live series. Awesome. That's really good having the series because it helps to build a loyalty. So, quick word on building your community. So, I talked already about how to set up your publication. Then, I talked about notes to help you grow organically. We also talked about the power of collaboration and now building your community. And what is actually a community? And it's not just sending an email and starting to grow a lot of numbers. It's really creating these, I like to call it a tribe or this circle that is not just about the creator, but really people who are part of that circle and are able to brainstorm, share, contribute, and so on. That's how I envision a community. But it's hard, to be honest, getting people to show up on a webinar like today. I'm actually quite impressed that we have so many people, time zones, different commitments, people forget, overload of information. So getting people to sign up and engage and so on is quite hard. And there's a lot of digital saturation. You have 20 webinars happening at the same time from people you know. So how do you bring people to you? So this is what works for me. First is find ways to build trust. If you're here today, it's probably not because you just saw a random stranger on LinkedIn or in my case on Substack say, oh, there's a webinar today. There was probably some element of trust. And I know many faces today. Some of you already told me that you know Gunnar. So find ways to build trust the traditional way. You're connecting, you're sending messages, you're engaging. So super important, building trust first. Then another channel that is very, very powerful and at the same time very hard to crack, but brilliant for building a community is a chat. On Substack, you actually have a chat embedded, which is what you see at the top. Gunnar, I don't know if you can maybe point it. That's a chat. First collaboration day of 2026. I do this on a regular basis, and I invite my subscribers, my members, to pitch their idea. I know many people want to collaborate. Very often they hear crickets. And so this is a great way to build community. I invite people to share their project. Hey, I'm looking for a guest from my podcast on X, or in the case of Paul, I have a live series on this topic. Would you like to co-host it with me? So chat works very well. You can do it with challenges. You can have a debate, for example. How are you using AI with your content? And then it's a revolution and everyone starts fighting. So you have so many ways of using the chat. So wonderful tool for building your community. Important as well is to get input and feedback from your members. So what do people actually want? And having things like polls, for example, or just asking them openly, what are some of the topics that you're more interested in? In my community, for example, many people have told me recently that they're interested in speaking in public, whether it's webinars like today, live sessions, monetizing webinars for corporate. So that's a topic that I'm starting to focus more on this year. And again, trying different formats. I used to do a lot of webinars, and then some of my members said, we would like to talk more. You're always the one talking. We would like to have a session where we can all share best practices and hear from each other and collaborate. So that's why, besides webinars, I also started hosting masterminds, where it's not about me sharing about a topic like today, but really different creators, like you see at the bottom here, talking about a specific topic. This is what I've tried, this is what's working, this is what's not working, I need help with this. So masterminds is something that I launched last year. I actually have masterminds tomorrow if you're interested, and they're on the topic of collaboration. So very, very timely. And the last message, and it's the same, you expect what I'm going to say, is not focus only on yourself. Community is really about the sum of people, and it's really about the collective power of co-creating. Of course, don't stop innovating. We always have to do new things. Every year I'm trying new things, whether it's masterminds or live sessions or webinars like today. So very, very important to keep innovating so that you don't fall behind. So Gunnar, I want to be very mindful of time and also of the audience's time. Are you happy for me to go through this, or do you want to
Yep,
go?
yep, quickly, yeah.
So, okay, very, very quick, because this is kind of the juicy part of the lemons, is the monetization. Many people want to be on Substack and they choose that platform because it gives you the option to monetize. And what you see here on the right is actually the monetization of my newsletter, only one of them, the Lemon Tree Mindset, which is around 18,000 US dollars a year or something like that. I don't know if it's a lot or not. What I know is that this is for work that I would be doing for free anyways, because I want to grow my community. I want to have more readers. I want to have more coaching clients. And so the fact that you can monetize your newsletter, I think that screams potential. And that's really, really interesting if you want to open that channel. As you see here as well, I'm very transparent. It took me a while. It didn't happen overnight. It took me a year and a half to really start having like that nice boost. But once it took off, it did take off. So it is a long-term investment. The conversion is very low in my case, and in general is around 3%. So you can calculate out of these 13,000, only 3% become paid subscribers. And another challenge is that people want these results that you see here, but they treat it like a hobby. And there's an inconsistency here. Like in life, if you want something to behave like a business, cannot treat it like a hobby. Works for sports, it works for your newsletter, whatever it is that you want to do. So we have to have the right mindset. So a few tips that can help you, and I won't go very deep into these, but trust again. If you want people to pay for your course or your webinar or your newsletter, first they have to trust what you're giving for free. And so freemium strategy works really, really well. Start really sharing, educating, entertaining, whatever it is that you offer. Create a very clear offer with benefits and not features. No one cares that Gunnar and I are doing a webinar today, but they might care that this webinar is going to help you build your community on Substack and build trust with your members. So really focusing on benefits. Build business proof. The reason why I've been able to grow these numbers is because at one point you really have to show, hey, I've helped this person. These have been the results. I'm coaching Michael on a book. Here is his book. So really, it's not only what you say about yourself, but what you can show. So show versus tell. And incredible, even if you don't want to monetize your Substack, is an incredible gateway for your business. Many of my students, coaching clients, people who join webinars, they actually come from Substack, even if they're not paid subscribers. So amazing, amazing potential there. So please don't expect to monetize from day one. As you see here, it does take a while. Don't create a generic offer because we have to be specific. And don't put all the eggs on Substack basket. As bullish as I am, it's just a platform. And so it's really important to build an ecosystem. In my case, public speaking, books, courses, and so on. So it's much more than just a platform where you monetize. So this was a very high level. I hope that it gives you a good idea. And Gunnar, back to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you shared quite a lot of insights already. Thank you for that. Appreciate. And let's now put this all together. So my last part won't be that long. So how can we leverage both to your advantage? And by the way, thanks for everyone who write this as well, to write their comments. Particular some of the questions I need to get into it in a written form. So I will share them together with a slide with some form from Cam, for example, about how to start newsletter on LinkedIn, about Substack, and so on. There are various ways how we can cross post that one. So let's look into a quick question first. In general, just to get engagement question. How often do you engage? You see it here with your readers. How often do you engage with your readers? Can even be Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Yeah, weekly. Daily, through notes. Good one. Yeah, I saw that. So then there's the more regular we are, without telling always me, the better it can actually be. So then it works. And also, Veronica, you say you try to engage within 24 hours to keep the momentum. Yeah, that's true, particularly when something comes. And Dimi, good to have you here on the call as well. Every hour. Yeah, and I can even put a map on London in which cafes you would sit and do this, because you are the best example of coffee lover and writer in one person. So good to be my first mentee. So let's go. Top of the funnel on LinkedIn. How would we show this? So then here's an example from Fleur. Fleur is also on Substack, created a Substack bookstore, and she shares her business around the Substack. So she's the one who put on LinkedIn that business is leading to this. If you would click on her company, there's text publishing, that goes into everything that she does. Not all of us can put it big on the banner because we might have mainly our other business or our corporate role or whatever we have, but we can place hints of where to show something that we deliver through Substack can be discovered as top of the funnel on LinkedIn. When I say to share the Substack, what I mean technically is to share where they have the value. So you can do it even more than Fleur shows over here. So let me look how I do this. So this is mine, as me. And then you can see also in my headline, it's my corporate role. I work in active campaigns. You see this, but then I have this button, view my newsletter. And that actually goes particular there to my Happy Habits newsletter, which sits on Substack. And this button, view my newsletter, LinkedIn has 6 different ones of them to choose from. So you see some people have visit my website or here book an appointment. Everyone might choose a different one on that one. And that is part of LinkedIn Premium. So free members cannot have that. So the technically goes like this. If you go and on this section where you can add these edit custom button, it has the 6th one. And if memory serves me well, you are having a LinkedIn profile in another language, like Veronica, you also one in Spanish, then these 6 phrases would be then in Spanish, for example. So that's this way how you can easily showcase, there is something that leads to another place. So here's another example that is from Magdalena, who Veronica and I know pretty well. And she has beautiful Substack and writes a lot of good content there. And she placed her newsletter into the featured section of LinkedIn. So you can see this over there. When you scroll through her profile, there's a post of that, then is a link, and then it's a newsletter, and that goes to her Substack, not a LinkedIn newsletter or a newsletter somewhere else. So then that is very on purpose. You can see this also by color. It looks like, want to click on it, and then you are in. The other thing what you need to be mindful of, by the mindset of, we all believe, and I work professionally on it, we need to collect email addresses. People have more than one, as the stats showed in advance. I have 33, maybe not, maybe too many, but okay. So what you should not do, please, and you could but shouldn't, you can go to LinkedIn on this link. You can download a zip archive with all of your data and all those first grade connections who have agreed to share the email address, you will have them. You can get it easily. The only thing, please don't add them to your Substack or any newsletter or any type of tool, because those people didn't ask you for that. So don't do this. Rather entice them that they can join is much, much better. So one way to do this, when you can share with something, is in direct messaging. I'm a big fan of using direct messaging on LinkedIn, and I created a term which I call MEO, SEO or search engine optimization. I put it like message engine optimization. So those people of you who registered for this webinar who I didn't know, I sent a LinkedIn connection request, but I placed exactly this webinar with Veronica so that later I can search for who these people were. And then I can do something. Most people, 96%, connect without any connection text. That's it. It's a missed chance. Because after a while, the older at least I get, I know one thing. I might remember names. I also remember faces, but I lose a combination. So I need a hint. When I say, that's the person that I met there, or I talked about that, then that would work. And then you can filter, type in there, like I here wrote the awards, and then I have all of them. And the person who I actually needed was Jenny. So that's this part. You can even add voice and video in LinkedIn. You can see there the screenshots for this and have something enticing. And then you can say, hey, I have even more of this modern way of engagement, and that sits on my Substack. Then you can share the link. So getting people into commenting is first, getting people into direct messaging, and then you can tell them about what else you have. So that's my way of doing this. And you can also do the other way around. So many people share great stuff on Substack, but the first thing you don't see is the location. Where are they from? Because in a global world, does it really matter? But sometimes you want to know. For time zone reason, for example, if you want to do something. This here is my Substack profile. Substack profiles now look like other social media with a banner. Just the pictures on the right-hand side. And you can add certain links. You can see here my 2 publications, Busy Book Builder, Happy Habits, my website, but I also added there the LinkedIn. So from there, you can also find out who the person is. Particular, Those when they start out and their subject doesn't look like fully fledged yet. You want to say, oh, is it an AI bot who's writing? Or is it something real? Take LinkedIn as a reference check. Ah, okay, serious person. Got it. That's a good way to make that happen. So, and being consistent, just you mentioned that, Veronica. So when I created this book last year, middle of last year in July, I thought this type of color suits me well on it. And you can see it's going across Substack, LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, the premium member, you can toggle through background images. I have one for active campaign, one for me as marketing professional, and this one. And then you see on Facebook, I have it actually quite similar. And even on Buy Me a Coffee, that's another monetization type of app. That's the consistency where I try to follow your ideas, Veronica, actually, and looks actually quite nice. Yeah. So the other thing, if you think you have content on LinkedIn, oh, cool, let's put it on Substack, or the other way around. It is like Facebook and Instagram. It's not the same thing. So be mindful of that one. So if you create something here, for example, I talked about the habit of collaborating in an article on my Substack newsletter, number 26. I do them weekly, about the habit of collaborating. And that is a photo with Natalie from Melbourne. I thought that would be good. It's a bit longer for Substack, 500 words, I think it was. But then on LinkedIn, I thought I'd do it a bit shorter and to point to read more than towards the Substack article. So it's a different type of way to get in there. Kind of. No, actually, I copied the first line. I just see. But then the following on, it's a little bit different. So be mindful of, don't just copy paste the same thing because the audience might not be the same. You might pay attention that something that worked on Substack during the week, personal stuff, would on LinkedIn hurt your business mindset on the Tuesday, but it would work on a Saturday or Sunday, like this example that I've done. So there's a couple of things that really look at when you want to play both platforms well. There was a question from Sal before that I saw where she said, how fiction writer can utilize LinkedIn? Well, if a fiction writer has a large network, then it is quite obvious that the fiction writing doesn't help and support and run the business side. Obviously not. But most people you know can also be your reader because they might know you well and would like to discover the personal side of it. So I would talk about, it's a corporate employee writing fiction, as I do now fairy tales. I can talk about it on LinkedIn, not Monday to Friday. It wouldn't fit, I think. But on a Sunday, I can say, hey, I just published my second fairy tale. By the way, Veronica, that comes out on the 29th, 10 days to go. And funny enough, this time, at the same time, an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Audiobook is actually ready. I spoke that over the weekend. Lovely. But so you can try to play this, but be mindful who is where and how do they hang out. So that's also a very important topic as well. So not everyone is in the right mood when they could have access to an app. If you are queuing at a barbecue on a Saturday because of the beautiful summer over here, then your mind is not in reading a long format article about risk management, but you might be on your phone. So you need to be mindful of the timing aspect. So that is what we wanted to share about LinkedIn content to Substack Flywheel. When you play LinkedIn, you get into Substack. We had many people here who discover Substack more and more. There are also some who try to figure out how that does it work the other way around. And that's something that we can actually also help you with. So for those questions that I might have missed, or Veronica, if you and I missed some, I will read through all of them afterwards and make sure that we get everything answered over there. So a quick summary. So we looked into LinkedIn, and please, when you get the slides, you can take that, even print it out, because that gives a quick of a summary of 5 points each, how to write content to spark curiosity, how to turn it into community, because that is the purpose of Substack, and then how to leverage both together. So these are the 5 points that I would get as a quick summary from it, versus a screenshot. And then there are some who want to learn also a little bit more, because we can cover only so much in 1 hour and 15. So let's get into this. So I've seen, and I've been actually, Veronica, I've been your first client of this course, right? So tell me more about that.
So I created this course because so many people were asking me questions about Substack. How do I grow? How do I monetize? How do I set up my publication? And everything felt very disjointed. So I decided to put together a journey for someone who is starting on Substack and wants to know how do I design it? How do I create my publication? Then how do I grow? What are the tools and the levers that I can use internally and externally to grow? And the last piece is how do I monetize it? How do I create an offer? How do I do the marketing and so on? So for those of you who are interested in growing on Substack, or you're already there, but you're finding it hard to break through, I think it can be an interesting course. You can take a look. I think it's better if you look at the reviews and you see if it's something for you.
Yeah, that actually here is my review because it was the first time I read a course and said, okay, I just only don't go through it. I stopped lesson two and said, okay, now I will change it. Now I do what I learned. And that was what I wrote then in my review. Therefore, I like it. There's one thing else what I like. I like your product boxes on how it looks like in Gumroad. That's very good. Try to do the same, but I didn't find it. So I've done this a different approach. Have a look at this one. So that is my course I'm now finishing. They're nearly ready. And I place it on a bus stop, which of course is virtual only. And you can have a guess. I've done that in Canva, like the slide deck also in Canva. And that I'm not surprised that this bus stop image in the mock-up of Canva is actually in Sydney because Canva is based here. It's been created over here. So I'm sure one day I will find this bus stop and the bus 507. I actually have been on that bus beforehand. So what I've done, my Substack course here takes LinkedIn as a starting point and figure out what I know from that and what would be the equivalent on the Substack side. How can I transition or take what I learned from LinkedIn and put this in ads and Substack to it in a view of a creator? And I've done courses beforehand, but here as much practical than I can have, less slides, but more hands-on to show you do this because of that, and that's what you can gain from it. Get also some best practice examples, and I want to have this normally ready out in the market by early February, but I have a kind of a pre-launch already now, and that is actually what you can see over here for only 27 US dollar or 39 Australian dollar to really get also early feedback on the recording, and the first lesson shall be ready then next week. So then that's end of this week, sorry. And that is for me my big focus on. I know a lot about LinkedIn with 14,000 followers and working in social media professionally. And I started Substack good 2 years ago. Not on your level, Veronica, but at least I'm the one who can surely share this type of flywheel. And that is the part that I really, really like to play both and leverage our skills on LinkedIn for success on Substack. So that is what I prepared for that one. Was really big pleasure because I learned a bit from yours in the way how to create online courses that people also wanted. And thank you for doing yours so that I've been the first to test and to check your courses. So that's what we prepared for today. And I thank you everyone very much. It's a further question that we didn't do yet. Gerald, Alina, Yimka, Margaret, everyone, thank you. A lot of thank you messages. Appreciate this. So that is good. Thank you, Veronica, for all what you shared so far, for everything. And maybe can we try to do a kind of a gallery photo and screenshot and waving or some kind of showing some kind of goodbye, thank you messages, whatever it is. Let's try this as well. And I try to grab a screenshot. Thank you for this one. That was a good one. One more. Stop. One more. Thank you. Yeah, I hope it was the right one. Wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. You know where to find us. We hope it was useful and it triggers some sparks and ideas.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, both.